I'm going to start my final assembly assignment, and I'm going to read the assignment sheet carefully and the rubric. So first I'm going to make the left hand jaw. The first piece I want to put in is the left jaw support, then the left jaw, and then the socket button head cap screws as it says here. So here in SOLIDWORKS I don't have anything open, that's fine. I'm going to say new, I'm going to choose the inch assembly, okay. Because I had no parts open, SOLIDWORKS will take me into the last folder I was working with, and it happens to be my center jig. So I'm going to scroll down until I find the left jaw support. I'll select it. The preview looks correct. And I'm going to tell it to open it. And then I'll just click to place it in the graphics area. Next, I'll look isometrically, and I'll turn on the Shade It with Edges. To add the left jaw, I'm going to use the File Explorer. Again, navigate to where my parts are saved. Find my left jaw and drag and drop it in. There are several ways to mate this. I could mate holes to hole, faces to faces. Regardless of how I do it, I need to check there's no interference and that the holes align. I'm going to mate this face to this face using the coincident mate. And I'm going to mate all faces to faces, and then I'll check my hole alignment. So the next mate I want is this face. I'm going to select it, rotate around. I'm going to hold Control, select this face, release Control, and select my coincident mate. I'll move the part up a bit, select the bottom, rotate around, holding Control, select this face, release Control, and again add coincident. So the part's fully made it. I can't drag it around. And visually, the holes look good. But I want to double check that. So I'm going to go back to the isometric view. And in the Evaluate ribbon, I'm going to use the Hole Alignment tool. So I'm going to tell it select for the whole assembly. There's only 2 parts. And here I'm going to enter the allowable deviation. I can't put a 0, but I can put a very small number. So I'm going to set 4 decimal places and then 1. Tell it to calculate, and it tells me there's no misaligned holes. So that's great. I can go on and I can add my socket head cap screws. So now I want to refer back to my assignment. Here the assignment says I'm using socket button head cap screws, and the thread must have the appropriate length of engagement into the jaw. So the jaw is steel and the fastener steel, so the minimum length of engagement is the diameter of the fastener. These are going to be 1/4 socket button head cap screws. So the minimum the screw needs to go in here is 1 times the diameter, or 1/4 inch, and up to 1.5 times. So between 1/4 and 3/8 into this part. Now if I'm thinking, I'm going to use the measure tool, and I'm going to measure from here to here so that I can see what I need. So I need a 1/2 inch length of fastener just to touch this. So I'm going to stop my measure. So a 1/2 plus 1/4 would give me a 3/4 length fastener up to 7. Now I'm going to go into the toolbox, and I'm going to go into the inch toolbox, into bolts and screws, then into socket head cap screws, and here's my socket button head cap screw. So if I'm careful, when I drag it out and drop it here, I'll have it properly mated. So I'll release it. It sees the size, but it has the fine thread. I can correct that here, or I can correct it here. So my length of thread needs to be a 1/2 inch just to touch this part. And I can see by the end of arrow where it is. So again, I need to go another 1/4 to 3/8. So I'm going to choose the 7/8 long fastener. And it's good. Remember, if I want to add a description to the bill of materials, and I do, I need to go here and I need to click Add. I'll leave the part number to SOLIDWORKS default, and for description, I'm going to tell it it's a 1/4-20 by 7/8 long socket button head cap screw. I'll say OK, and that will now populate my bill of materials. I need to add 2 more here, but they're a different length. So I'm going to say OK for now. I'll press the Escape key to stop adding this fastener. And now I'm going to copy this fastener to here and here, and then I'll fix its length. So on my screw, either in the assembly, or in the feature tree, I'm going to right click and I'm going to tell it to copy with mates. So this window will pop up and it says this is the component. So you can change your mind, or you could add components now, but it's the only one I wish to copy. So I'm going to say next. And it's going to say, what do I want to do? I can repeat these if I want, but I don't. I now want the concentric mate to be here, and I want the coincidence mate to be this face. If either one of these were wrong, I could reverse it with this, and that's what I want. So I'm going to say OK. And it's going to assume I want to keep adding these until I'm done. I'm going to tell it I'm done, and I'm going to fix the length of this one, and then I'll copy it to here. To fix the length, I forgot to measure these. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my block here, and I'm going to make it see-through. So I can see I'm a little short. So what I should now do then is measure. How far is it from here to here? All right. And what I can see is I have roughly 3/16 of an inch before I touch here. So the fastener, push escape and leave measure, fastener needs to be minimum 3/16 longer, which would put it just shy here, and that's okay, plus 1/4 inch to 3/8 into the part. To fix the length of the fastener, I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to edit toolbox component. So over here I see my length. So if I add 1/8 to make it 1 inch, it's still shy. If I make it 1 inch and 1/8, I can see it's really close. It's almost touching, and that's close enough. So I need to make it between another 1/4 inch, which would put me here, to another 3/8, which will put me here. So I'll go with the 1.5 inch long fastener, and I'll say OK. So the description for this is no longer valid. I'm going to right click on it again and say Edit Toolbox Component. And here's my description. You'll notice how this is grayed out. So I'm going to add a new description for this one. This one will be my 1/4-20 by the 1 inch and 1/2 length. Socket, button, head, cap screw. I'll say OK. Got the proper description. Go OK. One more time, I'm going to change the transparency of this. Double check how deep it is in here visually just by changing its transparency. Looks good. Again, I could measure from here to here. Let me set the transparency of this back. Move my part around, and now I want to copy this one to here. I'll right click on it. Select Copy with Mates. Next. It's now concentric here. The coincident can be repeated. And I'll say OK. And I can exit this command. So I have all my fasteners. Might want to put these in a folder to neaten up the tree, but it's short. Okay. They still rotate. If I wish to stop the rotation, I can expand here. Expand the mate folder. Right click on this, and I could lock the rotation. That shows me it's locked. And I can do that for all 3 screws or not worry about it. The next steps are to create your exploded view as we did in class. Create the right jaw. And in the next video, I'll show you how to create the 3rd subassembly. This one.